Alright, it is a new year and I think it's time we take a look forward and talk a bit about what we might expect from this coming year. Now, I'm not going to try to predict the future or say that this year is going to be a lot better than last year. We keep saying that and the world just keeps surprising us with one shit show after another. No, today I wanted to talk about some of the things that I'm personally really excited about in the new year. Some of the movies that I'm really excited to see in 2023. So that's what we're doing today. But before we get into it, I'll just quickly say that there most likely will be films that I forget or that I'm just not aware of yet. So if you know of a film that you think I and everyone else should be aware of, then please let us know in the comments down below. Alright, these are the movies that I'm excited to see in 2023. And let's start off with some animated films. The first film that I'm looking forward to is Disney's Wish. This is Disney's big animated film this year, and it is maybe as Disney as it could possibly be, which makes sense since Disney is celebrating their 100-year anniversary this year. Wish is about a princess named Asha and her goat Valentino who go on an adventure with a literal wishing star. Asha will be played by Ariana DeBose, whom you might know from Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, where she played Anita. The film is written by Chris Buck and Jennifer Lee, whom also wrote Frozen, and it is, of course, a musical. So that is Disney's Wish, which comes out in November, so next holiday season. A long way away, but I'm really excited to see this one. The next film is Pixar's Elemental. Now, I haven't been a big fan of the previous couple of Pixar films. Basically, the last Pixar film I was really blown away by was Coco, which was in 2017. But Elemental looks really cool. From the teaser, it kind of looks like a mix between Pixar's Inside Out and Disney's Zootopia. And I especially think the character of Ember looks amazing. Now, the film is being directed by Peter Sohn, whose only real director's credit before this film is The Good Dinosaur, which might be the worst Pixar film ever. So, I mean, hopefully this'll be a lot better than that. Elemental comes out in June. But speaking of questionable animated films, this next one can go both ways. I am of course talking about the Super Mario Bros. Movie. I am a big fan of a lot of the cast in this movie, both Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach and Jack Black as Bowser, Charlie Day as Luigi, Keegan-Michael Key as Toad, and then of course there's Chris Pratt as Mario. I mean, I've seen the trailer too. His Mario voice is...
Alright, let's go.
Not good. But still, a lot of the animation looked cool and maybe this will surprise and it'll be really good. I hope it's really good. I never hope that a film is bad. And I definitely will be checking out the Mario movie. And even if it's bad, I'm sure there'll be a lot of funny commentary on it on YouTube. So yeah, questionable. The Mario movie is set to come out at the end of March. But the last animated film I wanted to talk about, I have a lot more hope for, and that is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. The first Spider-Verse film was an absolute masterpiece, and I don't expect them to be able to live up to that hype, but maybe they will. Into the Spider-Verse was just one of those animated films that really utilized the medium of animation to its full potential. It was just incredibly beautiful, and it had a great story with a compelling main character. So of course I'm excited to see the follow-up to that film. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is set to come out on June 2nd. Now let's move on from the animated films with some remakes of animated films. And let's start out with maybe the most debated Disney remake ever. I am of course talking about The Little Mermaid. Now the main controversy surrounding this film is of course that Ariel is being played by Halle Bailey, a black girl. And I think I've said what I needed to say on that topic, but just to reiterate real quick, there is no reason why a black girl can't play a mermaid. The color of the Little Mermaid's skin makes no difference to the story. None at all. End of discussion. Whether or not the film's gonna be any good though, that's a whole nother question. It looks like this film is going to be pretty much a one-to-one, picture-for-picture remake of the original animated film, which in general I'm less of a fan of than when they try to do something different with the story. But then again, these remakes do introduce a new audience to both the old films and the source material, the Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale, which I definitely think you should read. So is that a good thing? I don't know. Maybe it'll be good. If nothing else, it gives us a reason to rewatch the original animated film. The Little Mermaid remake is expected to come out in May. Now, the next remake I actually didn't know was coming out this year, but it is apparently, and that is Peter Pan and Wendy. Now, it doesn't say that this is a remake of the animated Disney film, but it is a live-action Disney adaptation of the story of Peter Pan. Now, as far as I know, it's set to also dive a bit deeper into the past relationship of Peter Pan and Captain Hook and tell a bit more of their shared story. And I am definitely excited to see Jude Law as Captain Hook and Jim Gaffigan as Shmi. Peter Pan and Wendy comes out sometime later in the year. Now, the last remake is maybe not as much a remake as it is just a new version of this story, or a new story based on the same thing. It is Disney's Haunted Mansion. The Haunted Mansion is, of course, one of the oldest and most iconic rides in Disneyland. And this is not the first time that Disney is trying to make a film based on this ride. Back in 2003, they made a Haunted Mansion film starring Eddie Murphy, and the film didn't do that well. It also wasn't that good. It's not like it's an offensively bad film, it's just not good. And in 2021, they made a Muppets Haunted Mansion film in which Gonzo tries to stay a night in the Haunted Mansion. This time, however, it is Rosario Dawson who is moving into the Haunted Mansion. The film really has an all-star cast with Jamie Lee Curtis, Winona Ryder, Danny DeVito, Jared Leto, Owen Wilson, and many more. Now, I love the blend of horror and comedy that you get from the Haunted Mansion ride, so hopefully they can deliver on that in this film. Disney's Haunted Mansion is expected to come out in August. Now, from the remakes, let's move on to some sequels. And the first sequel I want to talk about is Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. I mean, I love the Mission Impossible films. I'll watch every new one they put out. They're just so much fun. I mean, you know what to expect by now. It's basically a film built up around Tom Cruise doing some big stunt at one point in the film. But this film brings back a lot of the cast that we've come to know from the past couple of Mission Impossible films, along with writer-director Christopher McQuarrie, who also worked on the past two Mission Impossible films, as well as last year's Top Gun Maverick. So Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise really like to work with each other, it seems. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 comes out in July. Now, later on in the year, we will get the follow-up to 2021's Dune with Dune Part 2. Now, the last film felt like it was just about to reach the point where it was going to be really exciting when it ended, so hopefully they can deliver on that in this film. Denis Villeneuve is back as director, and along with returning stars Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya, we get newcomers Florence Pugh and Christopher Walken. Maybe this time I'll actually find the time to read the book before the film comes out, but probably not. Dune Part 2 comes out in November. Next up, we have the third Hercule Poirot film from Kenneth Branagh, A Haunting in Venice. It seems like the whodunit genres really had a renaissance these past couple of years with both the past two Poirot films and the Knives Out films. And you know what? I'm not mad. I mean, who doesn't love a good mystery? Of course, you need a good cast of suspects, and this time you've got Kelly Reilly, Michelle Yeoh, Jamie Dornan, and Tina Fey on the list. A Haunting in Venice is expected to come out in September. Now, this next sequel I want to talk about, I don't really know how I feel about. It is, of course, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And on one hand, I am really excited to see Indiana Jones again. I'm also really excited about Mads Mikkelsen as the villain in the film. But on the other hand, last time they tried to revive Indiana Jones, it didn't go so well. So are they once again just beating a dead horse, or is this actually going to be good this time? I am actually cautiously optimistic. Spielberg isn't back this time, and I think that's actually good. Spielberg is obviously awesome at what he does, but I think he's tired of doing Indiana Jones. I don't think he cares about Indiana Jones anymore. So I think it's the right move to give the reins to someone who's grown up watching Indiana Jones and who really cares about this universe. This time the film is being directed by James Mangold, who also directed Logan. So I mean, he must know something about doing a film about a grizzled old veteran being dragged out of retirement. From the trailer you can see that there are some scenes where they digitally de-age Harrison Ford, but I really hope they use that sparingly in the film, because Harrison Ford is old. He can't do the stunts anymore. Hopefully it won't end up like The Irishman, where you also had old dudes trying to act like their younger selves. In the cast we've also got Antonio Banderas, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Toby Jones, and John Rhys-Davies returning as Salah. So yeah, once again, cautiously optimistic, but I've been burned once before. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny comes out in June. Now let's move from sequels to prequels. This year we'll get the film adaptation of the prequel to The Hunger Games called The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This film will follow a young President Snow, or not President Snow, before he's President Snow. His name is Coriolanus Snow. Why couldn't it just be Jon Snow? Anyways, it follows a young Coriolanus Snow during the 10th Hunger Games as he develops feelings for the female tribute from District 12. Now, I've never read the Hunger Games books, but I saw all the previous films and I really enjoyed the universe, so I think there's a lot of potential in seeing these early Hunger Games. The film stars Tom Blythe as Coriolanus Snow, along with Rachel Zegler, Peter Dinklage, Viola Davis, Hunter Schafer, and Jason Schwartzman. And it's expected to come out in November. Now, if Dune Part 2 wasn't Timothée Chalamet enough, then have I got good news for you. Because next Christmas we'll get the film Wonka, an origin story in which Timothée Chalamet plays the titular chocolatier Willy Wonka. Yes, a prequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The film will focus on a young Willy Wonka and how he met the Oompa Loompas. And if you're like me, you're probably thinking, didn't we get that story in the Tim Burton film with Johnny Depp as Willy Wonka? And yes, we did. But I'm guessing this won't be the same story. I'm guessing this will be something different. Anyways, I hope to God this will be funny. Because the Roald Dahl books are, first and foremost, really funny. But if they can do that, then, I mean, sure, why not? Now that I think about it, does Timothée Chalamet look a bit like a young Johnny Depp? Anyways, Wonka comes out in December. Alright, enough with the sequels and prequels. The next film I wanted to talk about is Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Now, I don't know if I think this film looks good, but it definitely looks like a fun time. And it seems like everyone who's involved with it had a great time as well. I mean, have you seen some of the interviews with Chris Pine and Hugh Grant? This seems like the exact right way to make a Dungeons and Dragons film. From all the Dungeons and Dragons that I've seen, it does seem like a bit of a silly game. I mean, I'm sure you can have epic adventures and stuff, but the clips that people post online are mostly from the silly encounters.
What is that again? Owlbear.
I mean, mimics and gelatinous cubes and stuff. This seems like just the fantasy film that I'm craving. We've had plenty of serious drama fantasy with both Game of Thrones and The Rings of Power and The Witcher for that sake. So I think it's time for a genuine action comedy fantasy film. Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves comes out in April. And speaking of fantasy comedies, just the other day I saw the first trailer for Renfield, which is a comedic take on the story of Dracula. It follows Renfield, who is Dracula's servant, played by Nicholas Hoult, as he tries to maybe get some distance from his horrible boss, Dracula, played by Nicolas Cage. So it's kind of like Dracula meets workplace comedy or something like that.
What? That's so weird. Why would you phrase it like that? But yeah.
I don't really know what to expect from this film, but it's Nicolas Cage going crazy as Dracula. I mean, what more can you ask? I mean, that sounds fun to me. Renfield is expected to come out in April. Now, totally switching gears for a moment, we jump from a comedy about vampires being horrible bosses to a drama about the making of the atomic bomb. Yeah. Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer is coming out this year. And yes, it is a film about the American scientist Oppenheimer who helped develop the atomic bomb, and of course his different feelings about having created such a terrible weapon. And I mean, if there's any director these days that I trust and whose films I will go watch, It's Christopher Nolan. I mean, I basically had Inception on repeat back when that came out. The film stars Cillian Murphy in the titular role, along with Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh, Gary Oldman, and a bunch more great actors. Oppenheimer is set to come out in July. Finally, I wanted to talk about a film that I really didn't expect to care about, and that is Barbie. Now, when I first heard that they were doing a Barbie film, I didn't think much of it. I thought, well, sure, that's not gonna be my cup of tea. But then you read that it's Greta Gerwig who's directing the film, and you see the cast with Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, Will Ferrell, Helen Mirren, and then you see the pictures of Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling in their outfits looking absolutely ridiculous. And then the trailer comes out, and it's a parody of 2001: A Space Odyssey. I mean, what the hell even is this film? Everything about this film just looks so bizarre, and I can't wait to watch it. I have no idea what to expect. But Barbie comes out in July. Alright, I should probably mention that there are a bunch of superhero movies coming out this year as well. Marvel has Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and The Marvels coming out later this year. And while I'll probably be watching all of them, I'm just a bit fatigued by now. Oh yeah, and DC. DC has Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, The Flash, and Blue Beetle coming out this year. And I just don't give a fudge about any of these films. The Flash film sounded kind of fun, but then Ezra Miller went crazy. So, yeah, that's that. But you know, there's a lot of other good films to look forward to this year. But anyways, that was my list. Now tell me, which films are you most excited to see this year? And of course, did I miss some? Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, remember to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and if you want more videos like this, feel free to subscribe to the channel. But with that said, that's pretty much all I had for you today. My name is Martin Riise. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care and so long.